A 41-year-old cruise passenger was arrested at the port of Salvador in Brazil after being caught in an elaborate credit card fraud scheme while on board a cruise ship. Authorities allege the suspect used fake credit cards, including a virtual card issued in the United States, to make over $6,000 in fraudulent purchases and casino bets. In addition to gambling, the suspect indulged in high-end purchases, including luxury perfume, alcohol, and electronics, before banks flagged the suspicious transactions. The passenger was apprehended with an iPhone, $2,600 in cash, and 2 ship access cards at the time of his arrest. While officials have not confirmed the specific cruise line, it is believed he was sailing aboard MSC Seaview, which departed from Santos, Brazil, on January 19th. The incident is just one of a growing number of fraud cases reported on cruise ships, highlighting the vulnerabilities of financial transactions at sea and raising questions about security measures on board. How credit card fraud happens on cruise ships. Credit card fraud has become increasingly sophisticated, and cruise ships present a unique opportunity for criminals to exploit financial systems. Unlike traditional retail environments, where transactions can be verified in real time with additional security layers, cruise ships rely on satellite connections that may experience delays in transaction approvals and fraud detection. This gives criminals a window of opportunity to make fraudulent purchases before their transactions are flagged. One common method used in cruise fraud is the creation of virtual credit cards, which are temporary card numbers generated for one-time or limited-use transactions. While virtual cards are generally intended for enhanced security, criminals manipulate them to bypass fraud detection systems. In this case, the suspect allegedly used a U.S.-issued virtual card, which could have helped him avoid immediate detection when making large purchases. Casinos on cruise ships are also frequent targets of fraudsters. Since many ships operate duty-free and use onboard currency instead of direct cash transactions, criminals take advantage of looser financial monitoring in these spaces. They use stolen or fake cards to load money into casino accounts, convert it into gaming chips, gamble a small amount, and then cash out the remainder as legitimate winnings. This is a well-documented technique in money laundering and fraud known as chip dumping or casino laundering. Cruise ship security measures. Are they enough? Cruise lines have implemented various security measures to detect fraud, but criminals are continuously finding new ways to outsmart these systems. Most major cruise companies use encrypted payment systems and real-time fraud monitoring, but challenges arise due to the isolated nature of a ship's financial network. Transactions often take longer to be verified due to limited internet connectivity, which means fraudulent purchases can accumulate before banks and cruise lines react. Onboard casinos, bars, shops, and duty-free outlets contribute to an estimated $3.3 billion annual revenue for the cruise industry, making them lucrative spots for financial crime. Many fraudsters target high-end goods such as jewelry, watches, electronics, and luxury alcohol, as these items have a high resale value. Cruise lines do have measures in place to combat fraud, including photo ID verification for large transactions, transaction monitoring for unusually large or repeated purchases, locked casino accounts with withdrawal limits, and partnerships with Interpol and international law enforcement agencies. Despite these safeguards, criminals still find loopholes. The increasing use of digital wallets, cryptocurrency purchases, and virtual cards adds new challenges for cruise lines in preventing fraud. Financial crime at sea, a growing concern. This recent arrest is not an isolated incident. Over the past decade, cruise-related fraud has been on the rise, with criminals targeting both passengers and the cruise lines themselves. The most common forms of financial crime at sea include identity theft, where criminals steal or clone passenger credit card information to make unauthorized purchases; counterfeit credit cards, where fraudsters use stolen or fake credit card details to make luxury purchases and then disappear before being caught; casino fraud, where criminals load funds into casino accounts using fraudulent cards, gamble a small amount, and then cash out as if the money were legitimate winnings; fake travel agencies, where fraudsters book cruises using stolen credit card information only for the charges to be reversed once they're already on board; and social engineering scams, where scammers befriend fellow passengers, convincing them to transfer money, buy them expensive drinks, or pay for excursions with the promise of reimbursement that never comes. Cruise-related fraud cases have surged in recent years due to the growing use of digital payment methods and the rise of contactless transactions on ships. With the shift to cashless payment models on most major cruise lines, criminals have adapted their tactics to exploit security gaps in digital systems. Protecting yourself from credit card fraud on a cruise. Passengers can take steps to protect themselves from fraud while cruising. Setting up spending alerts with your bank can notify you of any suspicious activity, and using a travel credit card with fraud protection and reimbursement for unauthorized charges is a smart move. Enabling two-factor authentication, 2FA, for credit card transactions adds an extra layer of security, and avoiding public Wi-Fi for financial transactions reduces the risk of data theft. Limiting stored card information on cruise apps, regularly checking your account for unusual charges, and keeping an eye on your bank statements even after the cruise ends are all important precautions to take. Final thoughts. A wake-up call for cruise security. The arrest of a 41-year-old fraudster at the port of Salvador serves as a reminder that even luxury travel experiences are not immune to financial crime. As cruise lines continue to enhance onboard experiences with digital payments and cashless transactions, they must also invest in stronger fraud prevention measures. For passengers, staying vigilant and taking necessary precautions is the best defense against falling victim to fraud while at sea. Whether it's setting up spending alerts, using a dedicated travel credit card, or simply being aware of your transactions, a little preparation can prevent a costly financial headache. As cruise security teams and law enforcement crack down on fraudsters, one thing is certain: the battle against financial crime at sea is far from over.